Ladies and gentlemen, we are back on the floor here at Awesome Con, and I am being joined now by artist McCormack.
Hey everyone.
Hey, so Clay, I just got to ask, how has your Awesome Con been so far this weekend?
It's been really great. I guess I should have said awesome, but it's been really great. I did the show in 2018, and I honestly had zero memory of it. I think I was sick that weekend. And so I spent my first day walking around having a bit of a memento situation where I would be like, I don't quite remember, wait, I think I ate there. But this has been a really great show, and the crowd has been awesome. And speaking of food, every single place I've had food here has been like the best I've ever had. Shout out to Ghost Burger, best cheeseburger I've ever had in my life.
Nice. So now everyone knows, now go to Ghost Burger. There you go. For those who may not be aware of your work and stuff like that, why don't you give everyone a little bit of a history of who you are and some of the work that you've done?
Sure. I've been working professionally for about 10 years. I'm currently the co-writer on Batman White Knight Presents Generation Joker with Sean Murphy and Katana Collins. And I previously co-wrote White Knight Red Hood with Sean. And I've been working with him kind of in the background on the entirety of the White Knight series. And before that, or I should say in addition to that, I've been doing a lot of my own stuff. I illustrated and wrote a graphic novel called Bloody Hell, which came out in 2021 after a successful Kickstarter campaign through the company, published through the company A Wave Blue World. And I've also done work for various other publishers. I've worked with Oni, I've worked with IDW. I started off with my own webcomic. Well, I called it an online graphic novel because I'm a pretentious ass, but a webcomic I did for about 5 years called Dead Meat. So I've been working pretty consistently at various levels in the industry for about 10 or 12 years.
Nice. Now, obviously you mentioned Batman White Knight. What's it been like working on that series? Because I'm a massive fan of it.
Oh, awesome. Thanks.
You know that because we were chatting earlier, and you signed one of the graphic novels and everything.
Mm-hmm.
What's it been like working on Batman White Knight?
It's been a lot of fun. It's been pretty surreal. Last year, when I was writing Red Hood, when I sat down to do it, the first time I typed in my script Batman, I kind of sat back for a minute because it was a little surreal that I was getting to actually put words into Batman's mouth and the other characters from there. But it's been really fun. Working with Sean has been great, and he's been telling a really interesting kind of out there Batman story. So it's been fun to be along for the ride.
One of the interesting things, and I know Sean has mentioned this actually in the comic books itself, because he'll write little editorial notes or whatever.
Sure.
And he mentioned about Jason Todd and how he kind of showed in an earlier part of Batman White Knight, Jason Todd was dead, but they have Dick Grayson as the next Robin.
Right.
What was it like writing Red Hood, knowing that Sean had maybe accidentally or just purposefully
he would
kind of put him out of...
person to admit it was an accident. Yes.
Yeah, put Jason Todd as the first Robin.
Yeah.
And then Dick Grayson. So what was it like working with that story dynamic that Sean kind of put in there?
Well, it started off as just sort of an Easter egg, but it oddly enough developed into this sort of hub for the whole story, because in White Knight, Jason isn't dead. He was tortured by the Joker and then basically disappeared. So Batman has assumed he's been dead all these years. But the kidnapping and the torturing of Jason Todd is sort of this fulcrum point for everybody else in the book. It affects Harley, it affects the Joker, it affects Batman, it affects Dick. It was never really planned that way, but that was just how things sort of evolved and changed. And so we ended up being in this really interesting situation where the flip of the order created this really unique dynamic among the Robins, where Jason Todd was still out there, and it allowed Sean to write this really great scene where Jason actually comes back to Wayne Manor and sees that he's been replaced. And so having Jason out there and having him be sort of the hub for a lot of the story positioned him in a way that I feel like he doesn't usually get in the Batman universe.
Yeah. And one of the interesting things, and we should just preface this for anyone who has not read it yet, because we do know that the graphic novel version has just been put out recently. Spoiler alerts: Red Hood gets his own Robin. What was that like, having that kind of become a little bit of a dynamic to the story? Like, Red Hood gets his own Robin.
Well, it was an interesting dynamic because, you know, the thing that interested me about it was turning Jason into a teacher, because he's the last person who should probably be a teacher given his temperament and his history. And in the Red Hood book that we wrote, the thing that really interested me was this idea that he has no interest in being a teacher, but he determines that becoming the mentor for this new Robin is kind of his way to stick it to Batman, to prove that Batman doesn't know everything, that he would do things better. If he had his chance, his Robin wouldn't turn out the same way that turned out like Jason Todd. But of course, turns out exactly like Jason Todd. And so that's, you know.
Now, of course, the new one that you're working on right now is Regeneration Joker, a part of the
Generation Joker.
Or Generation Joker. I don't know why I keep thinking Regeneration Joker, but like, whatever.
Yeah.
But you're working on Generation Joker, which is the next phase of the White Knight story.
Yep.
No spoilers on this one because we've only had the first issue come out, with the second issue about to come out. But like, for those who haven't been reading, kind of give them a little like of a synopsis of what that one's about.
Well, if you are caught up on the White Knight series and have finished Sean's most recent series, Batman Beyond the White Knight, I never can remember where the Beyond falls in the title. He's got to make shorter titles for this book. You know that the Joker's dead, but he has returned as an artificial intelligence hologram. And in Generation Joker, this AI version of the Joker has stolen a Batmobile and has taken his two twin kids on a road trip because he wants them to know that he's more than the Joker. He's not just an evil monster. He wants that he wasn't always a bad guy. And the twist is that this program is actually actively degrading. So he's only got about a couple days or a week before he's gone forever. And so that's why he's so adamant that he wants to to show his kids what he's all about before it's too late.
That's awesome. So with that, what are some other projects that you have coming up down the road, or is it just right now the Generation Joker?
Generation Joker is the main thing I'm doing right now. The next thing that I'm also working on, I can't really talk about. I can tell you it's a wrestling comic.
Woo!
And it's called Hardstyle Juice. And that's probably, I think, all I'm allowed to say at the moment. But I'm writing that, and a friend of mine, Ricardo Lopez Ortiz, is going to be drawing it. I'm really excited about it.
Nice. And then last question for you, but where can everyone find you on social media?
I'm on Instagram and Twitter. My name is at CMcCormack 414 on both. So I post a lot of art and stuff on Instagram. A lot of pictures of my dog. People seem to like that sometimes more than the art, so you got to give the people what they want, I guess. But yeah, that's the main place you can find me. I also I'm a host of a number of podcasts. I do a show called The Badass Podcast with Sean Murphy, where we talk about Batman the Animated Series. I have a show called The Rotten Horror Picture Show, where myself and my co-host Amanda talk about films off the Rotten Tomatoes 200 Best Horror Movies of All Time list. And the main show I'm a co-host on is called The Penske Podcast, where we talk about Star Trek. And we're in the middle of Star Trek Voyager right now. So.
Wow. Definitely have to tell my friends about that one.
Keeping myself busy any way I know how.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Clay.
Yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Glad that you're enjoying AwesomeCon.
Thanks, guys.